Hey everybody, it is Tuesday night. Welcome back to the board room. Joined as always by my boy Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Can't complain. Um, Getting some warm weather here in Maryland finally. It was like 72 today. Really nice day. Was outside a little bit. So everything's good, man.
Getting nice here too. It's t-shirt and shorts weather kind of. And then the other day it was like 35, so who knows? We don't
Yeah.
have seasons in Ohio. We just have weather. So we don't
Yeah.
even it is what it is kind of out here. But yeah, so free agencies kind of hit their calm down point. It started off hot and heavy, what we covered last week. We're kind of at the bargain bin hunting, even though there is some big names still available, which we'll get into. Well, let's get to the hot news because this I don't know where this is going. So Deshaun Watson, I think it's up to 14 women now have came out and spoke out about him. I mean, I'm in the minority. I'm in the innocent until proven guilty thing, even though the world has turned into you're guilty due to social media until proven innocent. But what does the NFL have to do something with him? Why these come out, or do they have to wait for the process to play out? And does anybody even want to trade for this guy right now?
Listen, this lawyer who is representing all 14 women who he supposedly sexually assaulted or sexually harassed happens to just be a really good friend of the owner of the Texans. Isn't that weird? I think this is a straight slander case. I think it's embarrassing. I think the NFL should step in and use their investigators to figure this out. I don't think they should do anything with Deshaun Watson until he's found guilty or innocent, one way or another. I think it's absolutely insane that we're even discussing this right now. They have almost concrete evidence that at least one of these is completely and utterly false. He wasn't even in the same state when the supposed incident happened. So, listen, I take sexual assault and sexual harassment very serious. I have a 12-year-old daughter who unfortunately looks like she's 15. So I'm very cognizant of, how women are treated in general out in inhumane society, because what I've experienced in my 20 years in the Navy and in my adulthood has not been the normal case for a lot of women that I've spoken to in the last couple of years who are really good friends of mine that I had no clue they had been sexually harassed or assaulted, right? So I take it serious that I lived in a bubble where I didn't associate myself with creeps and idiots and the trash of the earth, so I didn't understand that this is as big of an epidemic as it is. So I take these charges serious, but it's just all a little convenient for me to, for how this has played out, right? Why all of a sudden, when we know we're getting close to a trade, does this come out? Is that not weird? Is it only me that this, my hair stands up on the back of my neck and my arms for this, that this is not, a little coincidental?
The timing is coincidental. WWE had something like this not just happen, not even WWE, but wrestling in general. The stand up movement, whatever you called it. A lot of wrestlers, let's say a few of them were rightfully accused. Majority of them were not.
Right.
Like you have some like Joey Ryan, who's a complete douchebag. He got busted for doing shit for years and years and years, which is a whole different thing. I think this is one woman's cried wolf, so the whole cavalry came out after him. I did not know that the Texans owner was friends. That is very interesting because the Texans, as much as you think, have the leverage because Deshaun just stupidly, I might add, signed like a 5-year extension last year when he knew this team was a complete shit show coming in. He's got all the leverage. We're in the time where athletes hold the leverage. They'll just sit out. You act like they can't afford to. It'll cost them so much money. They're going to be okay. They're millionaires. They're not. And at some point, they're going to get moved. You're going to get sick of the head case. I think I met it. I forget who I was talking to about this. It might have been you last week. It might have been one of my friends. 'Cause I've been debating this Deshaun thing. Fucking dump him. Everybody's like, you have to get a quarterback. I was talking to my friend Tyler. You have to get a quarterback in return. You don't. And here's why. So look at now granted they had Tom Brady for 20 fucking years, but look at how New England's building their team right now. And the reason you bring up New England is because the GM of Houston just came from New England. So the New England's building their team from the lines out. Their offensive line is going to be top 3 in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. Somehow they got their center back for cheap, like $3.7 million a year. David Andrews came back after they already signed a guy. They rebuilt their defensive line, which I don't think they're done in the draft doing that either. So they're building their lines out. Their linebacking core is better. Their cornerbacks are deep as shit. They were happy Patrick Chung retired because they had so much damn depth at safety. So you can't pay everybody. So their issue is what? Quarterback. Cam. Is Cam going to be the guy? Well, now they can go into the draft or go after Deshaun Watson or Garoppolo, and the team's already ready. What's Houston do if they go get Tua? They put Tua behind this line, and Tua gets absolutely destroyed. He's probably going to get injured, and his career is probably going to just go right into the shitter until he gets another team picks him up a few years. Look at Josh Rosen. Same thing happened for him. Arizona flew up the draft boards to get him. No offensive line. All they had was Fitzgerald. Terrible running game. Not a good defense. Josh Rosen was not set up to succeed. So if I'm Houston, I'm getting anything I can from this guy before his value goes even lower. Because as these things come out, there's not teams going to give up a ton. There's teams that'll still trade for him because he's so damn good. But Houston, roll with Tyrod Taylor, suck for a year. You're going to suck for multiple years anyway. So just suck. Let Tyrod Taylor get abused. I mean, the doctors don't even like him. So let him go back there. You give him $12 million. Let him try to be the starter. Roll into next year. Try to get a quarterback next year, even though next year's draft's pretty weak. Or draft a Kyle Trask or a Sam Ellinger or something like that later and sit him on the bench. You don't need to throw any rookies. And they're talking about you have to get a quarterback in return. All right, we'll give you Stidham. I mean, Houston, it's time to tank. You guys have it's a complete shit show, Alex. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm so sick of this subject. The only reason I brought this up is it's like the biggest news. I think just a half hour ago, the lawyer came out and said there's 16 filed now as of a few minutes ago. It's just dominating the news. It's unfortunate. Hopefully it's not true. I'm with you. I take this very seriously. It's an uncomfortable topic. It's definitely not something that we want to spend time talking about, but we also can't just put a blind eye at it because it is.
I was just reading.
Available.
Sorry. I was just reading the article put out from the New York Times. These 16 women, have only filed civil charges, aka we want money. Not one has filed criminal charges. Is that not weird? If he sexually assaulted your daughter or your girlfriend or your sister or your whoever, don't you think you would be putting pressure on them to file criminal charges? Don't you think Houston PD would be arresting him? Houston PD, as of March 19th, had not been contacted by the attorney or one single one of these defendants in this civil lawsuit.
Yeah, I'd be going for blood.
Listen, man, this is... Okay, if this is proven to be completely false, this hurts all the steps we've taken in the last couple of years to try and bring a light to this, right? I mean, it really does. It's like this is just as bad as people turning a blind eye to it. The false reporting and, false allegations, just seeking money. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, cool. I get it. He's rich. Maybe, one or two of these girls thought he liked them as like a girlfriend type thing. And this is but this is ridiculous. Like, we'll find out what happens. But in civil, I guess maybe the reason they're going civil is because it's easier you don't have to prove within a shadow of a doubt, right? So they can get money without having physical evidence, right? They can make him settle. Maybe they've been advised that this is their best course of action because he's a famous celebrity. I don't know, but why wouldn't you want to criminally charge him as well? It's really weird to me, the whole situation. It's very eerie to me, the fact that as this new culture that we're in, that you're guilty until you prove without a shadow of a doubt. And even if he proves that he's innocent, there'll still be people that said, "Oh, he got off because he's rich."
Yeah, they're never
So
gonna win.
right. It's a tough situation for him. I mean, from what I understand, the initial woman who filed this civil lawsuit, he had been in negotiations with her to try and settle this, quietly or whatever. So maybe there's fire, maybe there's fire where there's smoke, but I don't think he would take the chance, if there were any truth to this whatsoever, to not just pay her off and get her to sign an NDA, and then you never hear about this.
I hope this is something that goes away. I know obviously he's found innocent, but
Yeah, I mean, if he's guilty of this, send his ass to jail. Be done with it. You know what I mean? Like, do something legitimate. Don't just make him pay money, because he's got plenty of it. It's not going to affect him money wise.
yeah, that's what people are like. Oh, he's going to. It's like they're millionaires, dude.
But he's worth when he signed that contract, he's worth $111 million, because he's going to play that entire contract out instead of something catastrophic happens to him. Mm-hmm. So I understand the guaranteed money, but he's going to get all those dollars there. I mean, he's the top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. In my opinion, top 5 by everybody's opinion. So he's going to get all that money. So
I think the fact he plays for Houston's why the people that don't think he's top 5 are like, because they don't want nobody turns on the Texans to watch him. You know what I mean? It's like Russell Wilson. It even took him a few years, like, oh shit, this dude's a baller.
That roster shouldn't have won a single game last year, and they won 4 because of him. And they were in 5 or 6. I mean, they could have easily been 9-7 because of him, right? Yeah. I mean, Brandon Cooks played really well, and he was healthy all year. That was a shining spot for them. Obviously, Will Fuller, people are going to see Will Fuller now because he doesn't play for the Texans anymore. You're going to see him get some more credit this year, I think. Yeah. But it's a terrible thing. I think his trade value is what it is, but this is an attempt to deter teams from trading for him. I really believe that that's what this boils down to. Well,
let's get all of the negativity out of the way at first. LeBron, was it Saturday this happened, I think? Suffered a high ankle sprain. They lost to the Suns last night. They got Cleveland tomorrow.
Yep.
Cleveland's been playing better, but it is what it is.
I mean, they'll probably lose to Cleveland. I mean, without LeBron and Anthony Davis,
and now are they in trouble?
Oh, 100%. They could easily drop to the 8 seed before both of them come back. I mean, there's not that many game difference between the 3 and the 6 seed. I think there's like 1 or 2 game difference between 3 and 6. They're at 2 right now, or 3. I'm sorry, 3.
Well, they're at 3. The Clippers are at 8th.
I think Clippers are a half game back, right?
Yeah. The Mavericks are 8.5 or 5 back of the Lakers. So the Lakers, they have a little bit of room, but Golden State,
they don't have a little bit of room. They don't, because 5 games is going to turn by the blink of an eye. And if they drop 5, 6 straight and they're trailing and they're in the 8 seed, it's going to be tough, man. I mean, this could not have happened at a worse time. Him getting hurt could not.
At the same time as AD.
And if you think about it, LeBron never missed a significant amount of time.
Dude, and here's their next few games too. New Orleans tonight, Philadelphia Thursday, Cleveland Friday, Orlando, Milwaukee, Sacramento, at the Clippers. They'll probably beat the Raptors. The Raptors will completely fall apart. Then Miami, Brooklyn, the Knicks, Celtics, Utah, Dallas.
Yeah, they got a number one schedule. What do you expect? I mean, they're gonna have to be.
And how long? What's the timetable for LeBron?
I mean, it's a high ankle sprain. I say a minimum 3 weeks, if not 4.
All right, so today's the 23rd. So maybe he makes it back by the Utah back-to-back, but that's still.
And that's probably when Anthony Davis comes back. So they're both coming off significant injuries. They probably will limit their playing time the first couple games just to make sure they don't re-aggravate or re-injure anything. Because Anthony Davis with the Achilles, I mean, they're saying it's just a strain, but he's off an awful long time for a strain, man. He really is. It's supposedly now the rumors are they're shopping Harrell like we were talking about before.
George Hill, they're aggressively pursuing from OKC right now as well.
I don't get that. He had George Hill in Cleveland who did crap. Why does he want George Hill again? An older, slower, less productive George Hill. It just doesn't make sense.
He's actually injured right now. He's listed as day-to-day, but the Lakers are willing to take back salary and give up draft compensation to bring Hill on, is what NBA.com's reporting. They're also shopping Montrezl Harrell, like you said.
I just don't know what star they're going to get for Montrezl Harrell. You talk about Oladipo.
I think they're waiting.
I don't think Oladipo's
are they waiting
the
for
gap
Drummond?
that they need. Yeah, I mean, everything I hear is Drummond's going to get bought out. Nobody is budging with Cleveland. With Cleveland, as far as the trade market, they're not going to give what Cleveland is wanting. They're really not offering much, and so
Montrezl Harrell, they're trying to look at the Lakers are pursuing players such as Terrence Ross, Norman Powell, and Terry Rozier. They were going after Devontae Graham of New Orleans or of the Hornets, but then when Ball got injured for the season, Graham got took off the trading block.
Of course.
They're going for guards, which is interesting to me. I think they need another forward, and I don't think
they absolutely need a big man. But I guess they're assuming.
I don't think
Drummond is coming there.
I don't know if they need to make that assumption. The Clippers just created a little bit of cap room and an open roster spot. He wants to go to LA. I don't know if he wants to go to the Lakers right now with all this.
I understand what you're saying, but at full strength, who would I rather play for if I'm Drummond or with and for? I'd rather play with LeBron and AD than.
Well, I'd agree.
We saw the Clippers last year. We saw the Clippers last year with a much better team than they have this year melt down in the bubble. What do you think they're going to do? I'm sorry, playoff Paul, whatever you want to call that bum, is going to choke just like he did last year in the playoffs, like he's done every year. Not impressed with him. Clippers are not going to win a championship. All you delusional fans, get over it. Last year was your best shot, and you couldn't do it, so you're done. Everybody's better now. The Clippers can't beat Utah in a 7-game series. Sorry for you. You don't match up well. So, Lakers at full strength are the only one I think it really has a shot to beat Utah in the West. Otherwise, if the Lakers, fall to 7-8 seed and not, come back healthy and strong, or don't figure out a trade, or, pick up another piece before the deadline, I think Utah's the best team in the NBA right now. I'm sorry. I don't care what people think. I understand Utah's not flashy. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They don't have a big name, according to, traditional what we've been used to. But Donovan Mitchell's playing just about as good as anybody else. Rudy Gobert's an absolute stud. I mean, you're going to have problems.
And, dude, what Chris Paul's done for Phoenix, man.
And listen, we're not even talking about Phoenix.
In this weird season, I mean, Embiid was an MVP candidate, right? He got hurt. LeBron hurt. AD hurt. Giannis I mean, you could give it to him, but I mean, you kind of get that, okay, not him again. To me, Chris Paul's for me is top 3 MVP candidate this year. Even though his stats 16 and 8 aren't like the sexiest stats, but what he's done for this team was nowhere near. I mean, granted they went 10 and 0 to end the bubble, but he's the game changer here and worth everything. I never would have thought Chris Paul at this age, I'd say, yeah, he's worth his $50 million salary, which we were making fun of at this point last year, that this guy – the Suns are going to absolutely exercise that option for, I think, 55 next year, which is a double-edged sword. As well, I mean, it works well two ways. One, you get Chris Paul for one more year, and two, once that clears, that gives you a shit ton of cap room, and I don't think he'll be asking for $50 million going forward after this. You might get him back at a. I think the Suns are the team to watch in the West. And I'm telling you, the Hawks are on the roll back. I had high hopes for them earlier in this season. They're 8. They've won 8 out of their last 10. DeAndre Hunter just got back. They're right there at the 4-5 seed. Boston's plummeted. Look for them to try to make a move for a big. The Drummond market's going to be hotter than I think people think, because a lot of teams need a big. The Knicks, the Celtics. There's a lot of teams going to be after.
Yeah, but
there's going to be teams with money.
Drummond wants to win a championship. That's all he needs to guarantee the big salary that he really, really wants. So he signs with the Lakers, or he signs with. I mean, he ain't going to get on with Utah. They don't need him with Gobert, right?
That'd be that would be unfair to have Drummond come off the damn bench for Gobert. See Gobert last night, like 29, 9 blocks. Dude's insane. He is coming off an injury too. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. That's Defensive Player of the Year. It's over. Gobert's ridiculous. Yeah, I agree. I think the Lakers are in trouble right now. We'll see how they get through the past few weeks.
I think Jokic wins the MVP by default. Unfortunately,
I mean, you could get a guy like Dame Lillard. They're hot again. I mean, it's honestly James Harden. I mean, he's balling the fuck out in Brooklyn right now. He's playing the best he's ever played on both ends of the court right now.
I'm so atrophied of James Harden, man. He is just about everything that's wrong with the NBA right now.
I'm just saying, no Kyrie.
He's a walking offensive. He's a walking offensive foul that gets the benefit of the call 90% of the time. It's absolute garbage. It's not enjoyable basketball. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not. I liked him in OKC. I thought, but this new game that he has now, where he just jumps into players and pushes into people and gets foul call. I'm just tired of it, dude. I don't care how well he's playing. But I mean, he is playing great according to stats wise and everything like that. So he's in the running for sure. But how do you reward a guy for looking like a slob so he can get out of somewhere, and then all of a sudden he just, now he wants to play because he's with his buddies, and, it's – I don't know. They did everything they could in Houston for him. They brought everybody they could, and it never worked out. And then he went to a pre-made team. And, of course, he's playing well. I mean, he's playing in the East against lesser competition for the most part. Not every night. It's a tough matchup, right, like the West. I don't know how you reward a guy with an MVP for being a selfish prick. Sorry.
Well, we'll transition to more positive shit. So free agency. We got all the accused sexual abuse and the injuries out of the way. All right, so free agency has substantially slowed down. All the big names are pretty much gone. Me and Alex will we're about to go through the best deals, worst deals, winners, losers, and we'll talk about who the hell's left. There's still some guys. One guy which I think will don Cleveland Browns colors next year, who is still the top available free agent, and I think you're going to get him for pennies on the dollar. There's some nice players still available. Some are rated a little bit high for my liking, but we'll talk about those later. Who were some of your best deals in free agency this year?
not to sound like a homer, but I really like the Johnson deal in
You got him
Cleveland.
for a bargain. You got the
Yeah,
best, arguably the best safety in the NFL for $11 million a
yeah,
year.
super excited about that. Um, crap. I'm trying to think. There was one deal I was looking at earlier that I couldn't believe how cheap. Who was it, man?
I can't believe Juju came back for that cheap.
Oh yeah, Juju was another one that was just
Like,
baffling to me.
what are the Chiefs doing? Like, they realize they still need to fix their tackles position. They offered them like almost up to 12 million. Like, they don't need another receiver. Like, they're trying to get Tyreek Hill to restructure, and he told them no. Like, what are you doing trying to add Juju for? Yeah, you lost Sammy Watkins, but really? Just actually throw the ball to Demarcus Robinson more because he's a very good player. Like, I don't know. That was weird. But Juju taking only, I think it was 8 million kind of shocked me. But he really wanted to be in Pittsburgh. So he could have went elsewhere.
I thought the Malik Jackson again, another Browns maybe homer deal, but I thought that was a pretty good deal because I think he's still got a lot left. He's still got a lot left in the tank. He just happened to be on the Eagles, which was not a good situation for anybody last year. Let's see who. Oh, I like the Ryan Fitzpatrick deal as well. I think that is good for the Washington football team. I think he's going to do well there. I don't think he's, I think he's good for an extra 3 wins over what they had last year at quarterback. Sorry, man.
Don't apologize to me. I think they lost about 2 or 3 more games now. Taylor Heineke got to win that job out of camper. It's going to be awful out in Washington this year.
Nah, man.
He'll start off 3-0, then they'll be 3-5 before you know it. He does it every single year. You already know it's going to happen. There's a couple. I was skeptical about a lot of them. Like,
I know way more about the deals that I thought were atrocious than
me too. It's like the ball, like Will Fuller for 1 year, $10 million. That's a good deal for Miami. If he's healthy, they got a steal for a year. If he's not healthy, he didn't break the bank for the guy.
Oh, the AJ Green deal in Arizona, $6 million, one deal. Or 1 year. That's a good deal. I mean, that's a bargain. That's a bargain for, to get him at that.
Yeah, and they're apparently in the Zach Ertz sweepstakes now too, which would, if you throw him into that mix, they got a nice.
Yeah, they got a real good offense. I mean,
they need on offensive line though, because Kyler Murray runs for his damn life as soon as he hikes the ball. Couple other moves I liked. The Buccaneers did a lot, getting Shaq Barrett back. Huge move. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to afford him or not, but
I didn't think they would get all 3. I thought they would lose at least 1, if not 2. I honestly thought it was a terrible choice to franchise Godwin. I really was like, you need a franchise Barrett or what? You know what I mean? I just didn't think it would work out in their favor.
I mean, my homer one would be Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I think is going to revitalize that 2 tight end set and make that offense ridiculously better. And I really like Jameis Winston going back. And the Bengals. So, like Mike Hilton, they've had about 4 quality corners this offseason, so they don't have to draft one in the first round for the 50th straight year. So they fixed the back end of their defense a little bit. They added a couple linemen. There's been a lot of, we'll get to the worst deals because there's been a lot more of these than good. And, I mean, is it bad that, like, 2 of the best players available are 2 of my worst deals, like Trent Williams and Joe Tooney? The Chiefs don't need a guard.
Well, not just that. I mean, to me, the worst deal was Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, 4 years, 7.
How do you give him that much guaranteed?
My bad. Like 4 years, 85 with 57.5 guaranteed.
The guy has missed the better part of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
How do you give that? I understand he's super talented, right? but
Desperation. The Giants
he
need help.
he bet on himself, and it paid off because I thought he made a terrible mistake.
He was the
Not
best receiver and a terrible receiver. There wasn't a lot of good receivers this year. You got
no.
Juju, who's not a one. You have Will Fuller, who's always hurt. He
Hmm.
was like the cream of the crop. Like it's like when Joe Flacco got his Super Bowl and he went out and got that ridiculous contract. Like he just seemed to cash in at the right. It's all about timing. Speaking of, he signed with the Eagles about 20 minutes ago.
Unbelievable.
Joe Flacco takes his talents over to Philadelphia.
That's such a crock of shit. How much did he get? You know?
Oh, I can check. I'm sure it's not more than veterans minimum though, because he was the Jets backup, and I think he played for minimum last year. Joe Flacco. You know, it's funny. We're going to see him in a game. That's what's crazy.
I mean, probably.
That offensive line still terrible. Poor Jalen Hurts will probably get injured, and there's no financials that I see yet, but he is all over the Eagles' Twitter account.
I mean, Dak Prescott deal don't look terrible as it did now, but I mean, it's still a bad deal to me.
1 year, $3.5 million, fully guaranteed.
Oh, I mean, that's actually not a bad for a backup. I mean,
I guess that takes him out of the Nick Foles. Oh, Andy Dalton to the Chicago Bears. Now, if he was going there for 1 year, $2 million to be the backup like he was for Dallas, then I'd applaud it. But he's apparently going there to be the starter, if you trust what he says. So,
one of the deals I like the most, going back to that, sorry, the Philip Lindsay deal in Houston, man, they got him for
cheap.
1 year, $3.25 million, only $1 million guaranteed. Like
Denver only put a 7th round tender on the guy, then they took it off of him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they got a steal for him. Yeah, I mean, and he's still relatively young. He's only 27. You know what I mean? Like, he was always in a two-part in a two-back system, so it's not like he's got a lot of wear and tear on him.
No, and they got David Johnson, who's injury prone. They have a couple good backs out there. But the Andy Dalton thing, I think, is going to get somebody fired. The GM and that head coach will be out of town by mid-season, I think, now. Andy Dalton was a terrible deal. I'm not honestly sure why Allen Robinson got so excited and signed his tender right after they signed him, because that's what happened. And granted, $18 million is $18 million, but the Bears are going to be awful. Their defense has took a hit. They had to cut Kyle Fuller, who went to Denver. That was a good deal. That was one of the best deals.
Marlon Mack was a really good deal as well. 1 year, $2 million coming back to Indy.
I didn't think he'd go back.
For $2 million, that's a steal. I mean, that's.
Yeah, no, I didn't think he'd go back because they got Taylor and Hines already there, and they could have drafted a guy later to be the third, But yeah, good move for the Colts. The Colts. So one of my buddies, a big Colts fan. The reason the Colts have been so quiet is because you have guys like Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard that are due for monster extensions here soon, like this upcoming offseason. So the Colts aren't going to go out there. They were in the Trent Williams thing to a point, but when you got up there in those crazy numbers,
Kansas City brought their right tackle back, Mike Remmers. So he's coming back. They still haven't re-signed Eric Fisher, right? I don't know what they're going to do. They need to get a left tackle, obviously.
Yeah, and you got Villanueva, but we'll talk about who's out there later. I don't know. A lot of bad deals. Like, I think.
Well, as much as we thought it was going to be.
Actually, we missed one of the better deals. Curtis Samuel going to Washington was a very good.
Well, that was a great deal.
That puts him with his old teammate from Ohio State. That gives him a second of him, McLaurin, and Logan Thomas with Antoine Gibson and McKisnick. Gives them a lot of options on the offensive side of the ball.
Here's a terrible deal, and your best buddy will hate this, but Corey Linsley, 30-year-old center. You give a 5-year deal, $62 million, $26 million of it guaranteed. I mean, I understand he's one of the best centers in the NFL right now, top 3, top 5, whatever you want to call him. But that's a lot of money for an older center.
All right, so he was the top-rated center last year.
Yeah.
David Andrews was ranked 4th. Corey Linsley's making over $10 million a year. David Andrews is making 4.3.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he wanted to come back to New England, but I'm not paying a center that much. I think I said that the day one. I was like, that was a horrible deal.
I told you. Yeah, I mean, that's not especially at the age. If he's 26 or 27, okay, give him that deal. But at 30,
he's about to be on the decline. Yeah. His best days are behind him, not ahead of him. Mm-hmm. Interesting deal. There's one more. Hold on. Actually, another good deal. Gerald Everett. Seattle got him for like 1 year, $2 million. That dude was trapped behind Higbee out in LA. He'll get a chance to start there. I think Marvin Jones is actually a good pickup by Jacksonville. Give Lawrence an actual veteran receiver to throw to, along with Chark. Jaylen Brown was a steal by Tennessee. They pretty much paid him a little bit over the veterans minimum. And then I think Bud Dupree they overpaid for. Same with Chris Carson. He got a hell of a contract for a guy who hasn't been healthy in 4 years. 3 years, $27 million, $15 guaranteed. And I don't like the Nelson Aguilar deal. We'll see.
Nelson had his best year statistically last year.
He balled out when he needed to, but we'll see. So let's start with let's see. I got a couple more. Emmanuel Sanders was a good signing by Buffalo, and Riley Reif was a very good signing for the Bengals. He solidifies one of those tackle spots right away. So you have Jonah Williams on one side, Riley Reif on the other. I think they got Price as the center. I think one of their guards is actually not god-awful. So, like, they're somewhat better. Oh, and Patrick Peterson to Minnesota was a great deal as well. They've needed a corner for years. That's about it. There's a lot of – I'm looking at the players available.
I think good players William Jackson and Ronald Darby to Washington were good deals as well.
He's had a good offseason.
But that front seven, adding those two corners, and they're only 27 and 29 respectively on short 3-year deals, right? You're going to get good – you're going to get a full 3 years out of those guys, right? I also like the Pierre Lewis, signing only a 2-year deal, and they got him for $7 million. The Lamar Miller deal, it's only $1.2 million, so it's not a big deal. But it's confusing to me why they need another running back there.
Lamar Miller's better days are behind him. It's the same thing with why the hell did the Raiders sign Kenyon Drake when they got Josh Jacobs and they just cut their whole offensive line? But I don't know. It's pretty interesting. A lot more bad moves than good, in my opinion. Like, even being a Patriots fan, a lot of the moves they made, I'm just like, okay.
Oh, we forgot the worst deal. Bud Dupree.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Holy crap, man. $82.5 million.
Coming off an ACL tear, right?
Yeah, $82.5 million.
Coming off a blown ACL. Man. It's going to be interesting. Very interesting. So before me now, we still are going to cover who's left and our overall team winners and losers. Before that, check out all the great audio podcasts over at The Buzz. Yes, sir. Check out all the great audio-only shows over at The Buzz. So speaking of Buzz, Alex, who do you want to do, winners or losers first?
Let's do winners first.
Who are a couple of your winners in free agency?
I mean,
Granted, just
Brown.
a
I
little
like
bit.
everything the Browns have done. Everything. I feel like the pieces that they added, they didn't overpay for. We got the best safety, arguably in the NFL, for a
You got Troy
sweetheart
Hill.
deal. Yeah, exactly. We added depth at corner. We just added a defensive tackle. We added an edge rusher in McKinley, who I really think will resurrect his career with us. I mean, I really feel like we're set up to focus on outside linebacker in the draft and really, maybe take 2 or 3 to hopefully, 1 or 2 of them hit and we really solidify our defense.
I think the
Obviously,
Jets
New
can
England,
also.
you're going to say them. I mean, they're easy.
They needed talent.
They're
They got an
easy.
infusion of talent for sure.
But that's the easiest one to pick. I mean, nobody was more active than them in free agency.
And dude, there's still what we're going to get the players left. There's still got offers out there for Leonard Fournette. I mean, there's still players out there. Leonard
I
Fournette,
wouldn't be surprised if Clowney ends up with you guys. I mean, you still got money to spend.
Clowney's price keeps going down. I think you guys might still end up with Geno Atkins, who just got cut by the Bengals. I mean, he'd be a nice fit to help replace Agunjabi, or however the hell you say his name. He'd be a force in the middle of that defense. I think Clowney'd actually be a better fit on your line.
I mean, I agree. Anybody you put, on the other side of
New England's just going to shuffle the line because now they have pass rushers galore. They're going to play Hightower more at the line. You got Judon up there. You got Winovich up there. Uche. I mean, they signed another linebacker from Oakland. They're just going to throw bodies at you. You guys have one, if not the best defensive end. Defensive lineman, it's Donald, but defensive end is probably Myles Garrett. So you guys are definitely your weakness was your secondary. You got another corner in Hill, so I consider you a winner as well.
our whole secondary was injured. I mean, 2 safeties, a corner. We'll see.
Think Washington was a big winner. Outside of, I'm not a huge Fitzpatrick guy. I like the fact that he's a very good person to have in that quarterback room. I just don't want him starting 16 games for me. I like this Heineke kid. He played great against Tampa. He was the closest. Washington was the closest team that actually came to beating Tampa all the way to the Super Bowl. With that front 7, that great running game, now you got 2 legit stud receivers there. That they're going to battle in camp too. I hope.
Oh yeah, listen. I feel like Heineke did really well.
Kyle Allen as well.
Heineke did really well, but you also got to realize nobody had tape on the guy. I mean, these are professional athletes. At the end of the day, even if he's a second or a third string guy, he's still in the NFL for a reason. There's talent there. It's just whether or not he's the most talented guy in the room, right? And so you got, I liked Heineke a lot. I was really high on him after the game, but the more I thought about it, you really got to understand that, they came out prepared for one thing and had something totally different. And, I never thought that Tampa Bay was in jeopardy in that game. So
I didn't either, but they got that front 7 is going to keep them in every single game.
Well, now they solidified the back end if you really look at it.
They had a great offseason. The quarterbacks is really their only question at this point. I think the Jets had a pretty good offseason. I mean, they'll probably work their way up from 1 win to 3 this year. But they signed a couple. I like the coach. The coach is good. They added Carl Lawson. They re-signed Marcus May and LaMarcus Joyner. The secondary is solid. They got Corey Davis, Kalen Cole. They still have Crowder, even though I think he's going to get cut because he's like a clean $2 million break. And I think him and Davis are like the same thing.
Right.
You guys are a big winner. Washington's a big winner. Daniel Jones is a winner and a loser in this because now He's got his number one. He's got weapons everywhere now. They signed Devontae Booker. They signed Kenny Galladay. They got Slayton already. They got Ingram there. They signed Kyle Rudolph. So they signed a couple linemen. The Giants, they're on the wait and see. They could be a winner because they've had a pretty solid offseason. But Daniel Jones, if he's not the guy, if he's not performing by Thanksgiving-ish,
yeah, I mean, he don't have no excuses.
they're gonna,
right?
like he's got 3 good receivers now. His line's a little. Nate Solder's back from his opt out. They've got a couple other young linemen that were rookies last year. Barkley should be back. You got Devontae Booker back there now. I think they still got Wayne Gallman. You have 2 tight ends now with Ingram and Rudolph. Very, very good defense last year that people didn't pay attention to because their record was so terrible and the division was such a joke. But Joe Judge is a very good coach. They played really good defense last year. So that'll be a wait and see. I think the Ravens did okay. They upgraded their line.
They're a huge loser to me.
I don't know. They're built through the draft.
No wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 number one, and they swung and missed hard on Juju. They offered him a crap ton of money, and he said, I'd rather go back to Pittsburgh.
Well, they are in with Sammy Watkins right now.
Oh, is Sammy Watkins a true number one, though, at this point in his career?
No, but see, I'm not a firm believer that you have to have a number one receiver to be successful.
How do you not?
Because I just watched New England win 6 Super Bowls in 20 years, and they didn't have a number one receiver once. They just had 5
They got
guys.
the greatest winning quarterback and the GOAT of all time at head coach and at quarterback. They didn't need it. They had the GOAT at tight end. Like, people can argue about Tony Gonzalez all you want, but I bet he'd rather have Rob's rings than what he has.
Well, I agree with you, but they could also go sign a Sammy Watkins.
Dude, you need a true number one. Look at Josh Allen. If that's not a case for –
well, Josh Allen needs a lot of help.
Stop. If that's not a case for the difference between a true number one wide receiver and a talented quarterback having it and not, I don't know what is. Everybody was riding on Josh Allen, even though I told you he was the best quarterback his rookie year, in my opinion. He improved the next year, and then he got a true number one, and look at what he did. He was number 2 in the MVP candidate. Like, Lamar Jackson is not going to win a Super Bowl with the style of offense that they're running currently. It's just not going to happen because when you get in the playoffs, the best defenses get in the playoffs.
I'm cool with it. Baltimore will piss him off, then he'll leave and sign with New England in 3 years. That'll be fine.
You guys don't pay wide receivers either. I mean, you did this year, but you haven't in the past.
I just would rather have a solid group of receivers than one great one and a bunch of scrubs.
But you don't. I mean, the way it's designed now, you don't have. I mean, look at Cleveland. If you draft
a group of receivers, though,
OBJ is a true number one, even though he hasn't worked out great.
He got hurt.
Even though he hasn't worked out great in Cleveland, right?
Good. Trade him to the fucking Ravens then.
No, we're not doing that. We're not giving them that weapon. Try again. I honestly think OBJ stays another year. I do
too.
I don't think the trade value is there. I think
but what if they sign T.Y. Hilton and Sammy Watkins?
Then listen, then Lamar has no excuses. But T.Y.'s aging. Sammy's not what he was. He's still a burner, but he's not what he was. But listen, if he gets those two, they equal a number one to me, right?
Got Antonio Brown floating out there.
Antonio Brown is going back to Tampa. I don't want any. If I'm another team, I'm probably not even calling him because he would have signed with another team if he was going to go somewhere else. I truly believe that.
I forget who he was talking about. Yeah, he came out with a post. He did an interview with a fan on like Instagram or something, and he said he's been talking. Oh, Seattle.
I mean, if he could go to Seattle, Russ would be ecstatic.
Russell has been keeping in contact with Antonio Brown. He reportedly says Antonio Brown wants to play in Seattle. Russell's pushing and trying to use his leverage to get him there. I mean, if I'm Seattle, you got to do something to fucking keep this guy happy. Granted, they don't probably need him with Lockett and Metcalf He'd be nasty in the slot. I'll tell you that, or on the outside. But all right, so who are some of your teams that were I'll start with this one. It's the Chicago Bears. It is absolutely the Chicago Bears. So you strike out on Russell Wilson. They struck out on Deshaun Watson. They struck out on Trent Williams. They go and get Andy Dalton. They signed their third to last ranked left tackle back this year to a $6 million a year contract. Allen Robinson's going to make $18 million, which he's a good player, but is he that great? Kyle Fuller had to get cut, who's their best corner. Akeem Hicks is on the trading block. But, yeah, that's my loser. To hear Alex's losers, please first check out all of our great, what do we want to show? Live shows, and we will be right back.
Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look, what's the top dish? Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot quick.
All right, yeah, that is all of our great live shows we have over here at The Buzz. Make sure to check out me and Chuck from RSH interviewing ARW champion Jason Dugan tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here on The Buzz.
All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
It's all good.
All right, so biggest loser?
That's it, right. Losers.
That's tough, man.
Oakland or Vegas.
Nah, I mean, to me, Ravens are big losers. Like I told you, I don't think without wide receiver help they're going to do anything. Philadelphia is a huge loser, but they've been for a couple years. Dallas, I think, because they overpaid Dak, and I mean they got a sweetheart deal for this year, but it goes exponentially in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Tennessee.
I was going to say I was getting Tennessee because I don't know what their clear.
They lost Corey Davis.
They lost a few key
they
pieces.
Cut Corey Jackson, who went to the Giants.
Yeah, I mean
they lost Jonnu Smith to New England. Mm-hmm. I mean I think they're going to take a huge step back this year.
I mean, I agree, and I honestly, I keep telling you every year, I think that Derrick Henry is going to get injured. He's one carry away from it. He's just too much of a workhorse. I understand how big and powerful and strong he is and all that stuff, but they're one injury away. I mean, they live and die on him.
NBA news to the Raptors and Heat.
And therefore put
Damn
themselves
it.
back into
Shut
playoff
up.
contention.
Sorry, ads. All right. Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat are talking guard Kyle Lowry. The hold-up point is the Raptors are insisting Tyler Hero be included in the deal, and the Heat will not put him in the deal.
Of course. I mean,
so any deal the Heat have been trying to do, whether it be Oladipo, Beal, or anything, Hero's who they all want, and the Heat refuse to.
Of course. I mean, Hero's just reaching, his potential, which is he's really good now. So imagine what he'll be in the future.
I think the Chargers are a loser. They overpaid for an aging center, which he was
Right.
number one last year. For 2 years, I'm sure he'll be fine. But they don't. Their offensive line's still pretty rough. I mean, Beluga is on the right side. They signed a couple other linemen. They lost Hunter Henry. They replaced him with Jared Cook, who's an older on the back burner of his career. I think they're gonna. Mike Williams is injury prone. Keenan Allen's an absolute stud. Their running back room is pretty solid, but they don't have a guy. So I consider them a loser. They lost Casey Hayward. They had to cut him. Hunter Henry's going to be a big loss for them too. Granted, he was injured sometimes. Well, probably 40% of the time, but when he's on the field, he's by far their best playmaker outside of Keenan Allen. Now you're going to have the ability to double up on Keenan Allen now. And then Herbert's going to have to find who's going to be that second guy. Is Mike Williams going to emerge finally? I'm not really sure. And, of course, Houston Texans are one of my biggest losers as well. Cut J.J. Watt, which I understand that. But you signed Mark Ingram. You signed Andre Roberts, Dante Moncrief. Like, they're just signing players to fill a roster and tank, which is why I'm saying they need to just trade Deshaun, suck this year, and move on. Philip Lindsay's probably going to be their best player. Him and Brandon Cooks will probably have pretty good, nice seasons. They both want to cash in after this year anyway.
Sure.
And
Philip Lindsay took a prove-it deal, right? Like, he's like, I'm betting on myself. Denver didn't feel like, now we got Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon to be injured by week 4 or get cut in training camp. The quarterback carousel.
Denver didn't really have a good offseason either.
No, they got Fuller. Let me pull up Denver's moves. They brought back some players that actually would be one of my winners. They got Von Miller back. They cut Kareem Jackson, but then got him to come back today on a smaller contract. They ended up getting Kyle Fuller, who played for Fangio in Chicago. Justin Simmons re-signed. They got Ronald Darby, so that back end of the defense, which was terrible last year, is completely redone. What else? Restructured Von Miller and got him back. Now, offensively, they're getting Cortland Sutton back. They do.
I just don't think Drew Lock is the answer there. I think you've proven that. I think they need offensive line help.
I think Denver might be my block to getting Mac Jones to New England.
Oh, you think they go Mac?
No, I think they're going to be an obstacle that we're going to have to trade up to get. I think at 9, I don't know how they feel about Mac Jones, but I just have some feeling that New England coming out the other day saying they love Justin Fields is just a smokescreen. Bill's not going to come out and tell you who he wants. It just doesn't make sense.
Unless he's telling you who he wants because he expects everybody else to, think that he wants that. But why would he tell us that he wants that? Maybe it's like reverse psychology, right?
He does. He wants somebody to go get Justin Fields so Mac Jones can fall to him at 15 to where they don't have to move anywhere, which is where he should, in my opinion, go anyway. I think 5 years from now, when you look at this draft, the best player from it, the best QB is going to be Trevor, and I think Mac Jones is going to be second. I'm talking about not in 2 years. Like when he has his year on the bench or whatever he does.
Well, listen, if Mac goes to New England, that gives him an unfair advantage, right? I mean,
he gets to learn under the greatness of Cam Newton.
Because Trevor and Justin and Zach Wilson are more than likely going to go to terrible teams and terrible organizations. I mean, let's be real. Jacksonville's been a terrible team, terrible organization for years. Jets. Same thing, right? Atlanta would be the saving grace for Justin Fields, right? If somehow they take him at 4, which they're not going to supposedly, but who knows at this point, right? But that would be the saving grace for him because he's a Georgia kid.
That's makes too much sense not to happen.
Right. It's not a terrible roster. It just is in the way with Matt Ryan making as much money as he is.
Or they're going to have to eat a huge dead cap hit.
I mean, they could trade him
I'm still calling I don't know why the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, who was the OC when he was MVP, have not blown their phones up. Maybe after the draft.
Well, because they don't think they don't think he's an upgrade over Garoppolo, right? They
Apparently
said
not.
the only way they're trading Garoppolo is if they get one of the big two, which is, Russell or Watson. So they said it's got to be a clear upgrade. So they at least put him on par. And look,
They
San
have to do
Francisco
something.
has a very good win percentage with Garoppolo. So
Yes.
he's not as terrible. He's not as terrible as people are trying to make him out to be.
He wins a lot of games. There's a reason
just
Bill's
right.
sitting there waiting for him to hopefully get cut.
He's a more Tom Brady than Peyton Manning, right? He's I win despite of stats, whereas Peyton Manning wins because of stats, right? Like that. There's a difference, right? I mean, that's why Tom got killed for years until he had the 50 touchdown year, and now he understands that the numbers mean more as much to legacy as the winning does. So now he's piled on a lot of really good stat years.
Hey, now Breeze is gone, so now he can start playing catch up in the few categories Breeze has him beat in too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so who is still out there? So here's some people that are still. So this is according to NFL.com's rankings. Clowney's still out there. Mitchell Schwartz is still out there. You got Justin Houston, T.Y. Hilton, Carlos Dunlap, Melvin Ingram, Eric Fisher, Richard Sherman. Why they have Malcolm Butler ranked higher than Richard Sherman, I refuse to say it in that order. Richard Sherman, then Malcolm Butler, Watkins, Antonio Brown, Daquan Jones, Sue's still out there, Xavier Woods from Dallas.
Most of the guys that are still out there, though, are up in age, right? Except for Quan Alexander, right?
Malik Hooker, the safety from the Colts, is chilling out there. He had a blown
Davion Clowney's still there, right?
James Conner, James White,
Adam Humphries, who we haven't heard about in a while.
Fournette sign and I miss it.
I don't know. Maybe he did. Did he?
No. Several teams are involved with Buccaneers Leonard Fournette, including. And New England's considered the top landing spot. Okay, that's what I fucking thought. He's not on any of these lists. Like, not even the top 200. Like, he's definitely – all right. But, yeah, so that's kind of who we have. Who do you think should be the next person to sign? If you were running a team –
I mean, I would have thought Clowney would have been signed by now. I would have thought Quan Alexander, for as young as he is and as talented as he is, would have been signed by now. Maybe Quan Alexander, honestly, is wanting to go back to New Orleans and just waiting for them to create some kind of cap space where he's not going to take a terrible deal, but he also, he's going to give him a haircut, right? He's going to take a haircut, but he's not going to take what he deserves, but he'll take what he can get, basically, from New Orleans.
This is an interesting aging group, though, man. I mean, Richard Sherman's has talked to Dallas. I think he'd be a huge addition to that secondary, especially when they got I think Dan Quinn's their defensive coordinator now. And
I'd love to, you talked about Geno Atkins. I'd love to get Ndamukong Suh in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, there's big.
Because I think you can get him for, 1-2 year deal. You could pay him a little bit, but not, a crazy amount.
No, you got some bargains here that can plug up some gaps for you. Mitchell Schwartz, I mean, the Colts need a left tackle. Sign this fucking guy. I know he only played right, but there's your depth piece. Andres Villanueva from Pittsburgh. He's a solid tackle. You got Carlos Dunlap. He's a good rotate. T.Y. Hilton. I think he's going back to Indy, and there's no reason he shouldn't. They have more money to offer. Eric Fisher. K.J. Wright's a damn good linebacker. Antonio Brown, I mean, I'd shy away from him personally. Xavier Woods is a very solid young safety. But Dallas went out and got Keanu Neal today, who played for Atlanta, who's familiar with Quinn. So Austin Reeder, a top 10 ranked center last year that the Chiefs said they don't have enough money to re-sign. Honestly, surprised he's not there. I know Green Bay's in salary cap hell right now, but with losing Corey Lindsey, maybe that's a guy they can target and he won't command as big of a paycheck. What scares me about some of these guys the Chiefs have cut, they could come back later for cheap because they want to win and they're familiar and they love playing there. Duke Johnson, I think he's still only 27, which is weird. I feel like he's been in the NFL for like 15 years. Alden Smith could be a nice – he had a pretty decent 9 sacks last year. Casey Hayward's still there. Lawrence Guy from New England. K'Wan Short, Geno Atkins, James White, Everson Griffin. I mean, there's some names out there still, man. I think – I've told you since the beginning, I think James White's going to end up in Tampa Bay.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Fournette does sign with New England, then
they said New England hasn't even touched base with James White. Like,
they
got J.J. Taylor.
Yeah, younger, cheaper version.
Yeah, rookie deal, undrafted free agent rookie deal for like 4 years. I think the best. I still don't know why Fournette's on there. There's depth at running back here, man. You get Fournette, you get James White, who's one of the better pass catching backs. You still got some receivers.
You got Matt Breida as well, who's still young and out there, who did very well in San Francisco.
You got some pass rushing depth. Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston, Daquan Jones. You got Sue, which I think he'll inevitably end up back in Tampa. Cordell Patterson. I mean, he had a pretty damn good year at the Bears last year, running and kick returner. He's always a threat back there, running the ball, catching the ball. Be interesting. Rashad Breeland still there.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Hooker, 25 years old, man.
I know. I honestly, I thought that's who we were going to go with in Cleveland because I didn't think we'd get Johnson. I mean, you could
probably get this dude for.
The main reason we got Johnson is the Youngstown State connection, right? He went to Youngstown State, right? So he was more than happy to come back to Ohio. Like he was excited. Otherwise, I don't know if we get him. I mean, just the connection is what helped us out.
Who do you think signs next?
I think it's Clowney. I think
he'll end up with you guys. I really do. I think Bill's done with deep. I think New England's. And Clowney's interesting. He didn't sign till super late last year, and then he got hurt, and he was ineffective until then. So I don't know if somebody pounces on him right now or not. But could be interesting. I think with you guys just need another guy on the other side of Garrett, and your defense is all right. You can draft a linebacker. It's a pretty decent linebacker draft as well.
But I think McKinley makes that. I mean, I think he's good enough.
He's a good rotation player.
We don't need to add. I don't think we need to add another high-priced guy, right? Like, I don't want Clowney unless it's like unless it's 2-year deal, $14 million, 6 of it guaranteed, something like that. I'm okay with.
Bro, if I can only think in the New England standpoint, if I was going to sign him, it'd be 1 year's $9 million with 6 guaranteed, and you have to earn the rest.
I don't want to pay him more than 7. I don't want to pay him more than 7.
I'll give him a chance to earn 9. I'll guarantee him 7.
Right, there you go. Okay, we can guarantee 7,
but
and he has a chance to earn.
Said that he's going to get 1 year, $13 million fully guaranteed. There's not a chance in hell I'm offering that if I'm a team right now. He was not good last year. They said he was banged up, whatever. But
I mean, I even as J.J. Watt as advanced as he is in age and injury, whatever, I'll take J.J. Watt for $13 million a year over Jadeveon Clowney. Sorry,
be interesting. Still a lot of names out there.
There are, but it's like normal. The aging guys are the ones that are, the 1-year deal guys are the guys that are still left.
Well, we were curious if it'd be like baseball. A lot of guys just took 1-year deals because of the pandemic. All that
the salary cap's going to go back up next year. Yeah. Well, I mean, baseball, you don't worry about that, but in NFL, you got to worry about it. Right.
The Dodgers and Padres just signed fucking everybody. Like they needed fucking Trevor. But Trevor Bauer is the only guy that came out on top in this fucking pandemic. It's crazy how good the fucking Dodgers are. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm a Red Sox fan, so you'd think I wouldn't hate big markets. I fucking am over it. They need a cap. Because the Dodgers.
Well, they have a soft cap. Come on, buddy.
Magic Johnson just makes it fucking rain Like that rotation has 4 number 1 pitchers in it.
I mean, now you understand, the hate for small market, of small market teams like me as a Cleveland fan, losing to the Yankees every year, losing to you guys, or the Cubs who just overpay to win championships. I mean, it sucks, dude. It is what it is.
It is. I root for the Reds, and I think Trevor Bauer's contract's worth more than their roster. So
I wouldn't doubt it. It's
outside
probably worth more than the Indians roster too. Now that
Lindor's gone.
Yeah, jeez, it's such a sad day, man.
$300 million possible he's going to get from the fucking Mets too.
Yeah, man. I mean, I knew it was coming. I just figured it'd be the other New York team, not that. But the Yankees got a pretty good shortstop already, so.
Let's see. Baseball's coming. So starting next week, we're going to go bi-weekly. Free agency's kind of dying down. The draft's picking up, but we're going to start going bi-weekly until football picks back up. Still got that Arena Rock show every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. 4 hours of shows in one day is kind of rough, so we're going to try to spread these out a little bit. Tomorrow, me and Chuck interview Jason Dugan, who is the ARW Rapid Fire champion. He defended it Friday against Elijah Burke, who was with WWF at one point. He's now known as the Pope. Did he retain his title? Find out tomorrow. I'll have an interview with him. 7 o'clock. And then Thursday, Fastlane's over. WrestleMania is going to be, so it's 18 days away. 30,000 people. We're going to have an event with fans for the first time in over a year. For wrestling, at least. We'll be talking about that Thursday. I know. I like how you could care less about WrestleMania. I'm geeked. This is my time of year. We're having a WrestleMania get together on the Saturday. It's 2 nights. Nothing.
Not a thing, dude. I got nothing for you, man. I mean, like I told you, man. High school. Years after high school, all my buddies were into wrestling, and it's just something that missed me, man. Hulk Hogan's cool, whatever. Ultimate Warrior, the Road Warriors. I know all those guys. Ted DiBiase. When I was a little kid, man. Those guys, I'm all in on those guys. But I wasn't into DX, Triple H. I know who these guys are because all my buddies were diehards, but it's just I can't tell you the last time. I mean, I turn on TV and it's wrestling comes on, I change the channel. It's just not
so disrespectful.
It's just not for me. It's not, and you know how much I love sports. It's more entertainment than sport to me. And I understand they're athletes. I'm not taking anything away from them, right? I could have, even when I was in great shape, I wouldn't have wanted to put my body in the harm's way that they do. So I understand it. I respect it. But it's just not something that it doesn't tickle my fancy, man.
Well, get your fancy tickled tomorrow night and Thursday night. Me and Alex will catch you guys in 2 weeks, get you caught up further on free agency and what's going on in the NBA. Everybody have a good night, and we will see you next.